Tesla stock is up 5% today on some breaking news for Tesla specifically, but really CPI. CPI was the big catalyst today that sent markets higher. Tesla stock is at $416 per share, right below its 20-day moving average that has served as a lot of resistance recently. That is currently at $422 per share. That is the level we want to get above for a further breakout. But before we get into that, let's start with your CPI data today. Core month over month came in at 0.2% versus expectations of 0.3%. So that beat, and that's a big difference, right? 0.3% times 12 is 3.6% on a 12-month kind of annualized basis. At 0.2%, that's 2.4% on a 12-month annualized basis. There's actually a big difference in just that 0.1% beat today. Core year over year came in at 3.2% versus expectations of 3.3%, so that's better than expected. Headline inflation month over month came in at 0.4%. That actually was higher than expected at 0.3%. And year over year headline came in at 2.9%, and that met expectations. That is up from 2.7% though last month. So core is what everyone cares about, and that came in better than expected. That is really a sigh of relief when markets have been very nervous about inflation in recent weeks. You could see today 10-year Treasury yields are down 11.5 basis points, back down to 4.67%. Now, we've recently went up a lot. From December 5th, you were at 4.15%, 4.15%. So you're still up 50 basis points in a little over a month, even after today's drop. But today's drop was definitely welcomed by markets. You can also see today the VIX is down about 9.5%, which is definitely another sigh of relief. It's still elevated, almost at 17, but still progress in the right direction since we have been so bearish the last couple of weeks. The Russell 2000 is up 1.64%, NASDAQ is up 1.75%, S&P is up 1.31%, and the Dow is up 1.3%. So pretty even gains across the board. You also have super core CPI up 0.21% month over month in December, down from 0.34% in November. So this was a nice drop on a month over month basis. Okay, so even if you look at super core, inflation is making progress. Fed Williams said today, I see the move to 2% inflation over the coming years. And Fed Kashgari says tariffs themselves don't cause inflation, but tit for tat retaliation is more complicated. So look at that. The Fed's already kind of walking back the whole tariffs could cause inflation argument. Traders are now pricing in a Fed rate cut by July versus September, previous to this CPI data. Fed Williams says the government's policy outlook is the main source of uncertainty. Fed Williams also says that disinflation process to continue, but could be choppy. And then he also says, I expect the unemployment rate to hold between 4 and 4.25%. He also says that monetary policy is well positioned for economic outlook. Now, some people on Wall Street, like Jeremy Schwartz here, says that markets are cheering inflation news, but it is even better than reported. Plugging in more real-time data on shelter, headline inflation improves from 2.9% to 1.8%. Core inflation improves from 3.2% to 1.9%. Alt inflation metrics off their lows, but still below the Fed's 2% target. And this is basically just looking at the current market rents versus the way the CPI is calculated in the government numbers, which is owner equivalent rents, basically surveying homeowners, asking them what they could rent their homes for. You know, I don't think that's a very accurate way of getting a housing inflation number to begin with, but hey, it is what it is. It just takes longer for homeowners to realize they cannot charge insane amounts if they want to rent out their home. Fed Barkin says today the latest CPI suggests inflation is still declining, and Fed Barkin as well says inflation is coming down towards the 2% target. So I think you get the idea. Inflation is the main thing that we care about, okay? We can have jobs reports that are strong as long as that is not causing inflation. That's the soft landing, or, better case scenario, no landing scenario. Okay. So Friday's jobs report just looks like the economy's strong and inflation's making progress now. The jobs report that came in 256,000 jobs Wall Street freaked out about, it doesn't look like a bad thing now that inflation came in weaker than expected. And we're starting to gain what looks like momentum, especially with that supercore data that I just showed you. It really looks like inflation's starting to become less of an issue. And for markets that have sold off so much, so fast, I wouldn't expect all of it to kind of reverse, in one day. But we start to string together another good CPI report with some favorable, step up tariff policies instead of all at once. And you're creating a pretty bullish setup for the next couple of months. It is being reported via Axios that a Gaza ceasefire deal has been reached. It's not really affecting our markets. I think we're well past the point that Wall Street cares about this, but I would say that's good news. Now, in the news today, not Tesla specific news, we'll get into that in just a moment, but in EV news today, the Michigan State Police is the latest police force to debut an EV in their fleet, with the addition of a Ford Mustang Mach-E GT. The SEC has sued Elon Musk in a federal court over an alleged securities violation, according to a court docket. The SEC alleges Elon committed securities fraud in 2022 by failing to disclose his ownership in Twitter and buying shares at artificially low prices. This lawsuit will likely go nowhere with a new head of the SEC about to come in. Elon Musk wrote on X, "If you're a hardcore software engineer and want to build the everything app, please join us by sending your best work to code@x.com. We don't care where you went to school or even whether you went to school or what big name company you worked at. Just show us your code," which you gotta love Elon for that. How many people, you might be one of these people that are just really great at something, but you could never get a job at, a big company for it because you didn't technically go to school for it. Okay, you technically don't have that master's degree or something like that. Even you guys, I think you guys, most of you, could probably work on Wall Street. You're probably smarter than most people that work on Wall Street, and you probably know more than most people that work on Wall Street. But Goldman Sachs is never going to hire you. Bank of America is never going to hire you because you're not technically qualified with the paper requirements from an institution. And I just love the fact that Elon Musk really is for equal opportunity. Honda and Acura EVs in the US will gain access to the Tesla Supercharger this spring. Barclays analyst Dan Levy has raised this Tesla price target to $325 from $270 and keeps an equal weight rating. Barclays sees, quote, several key areas dominating the Tesla business focus. For 2025, the return to volume growth, expansion in autonomous vehicle efforts, and contribution from other areas, notably regulatory credits and energy. However, Barclays believes fundamentals remain secondary versus the broader theme of narrative command for Tesla, which has gone into hyperdrive since the US elections last November. The stock has become untethered from fundamentals, arguably similar to what we saw with Tesla stock in late 2021 when the market was awash in EV euphoria. The analyst tells investors in a research note, while fundamentals will eventually return to being important to Tesla investors, for now it's unclear what the negative catalyst is, with the stock to potentially remain elevated for now. And it is being reported that Tesla will enter the Saudi Arabian market within months. And in a win for mankind, after 56 years, the FDA today officially banned the use of red dye number 3 in food and beverages in the US. This will not go into effect until January 15th, 2027. Now, for the better part of about 5 or 6 months, I have stopped consuming dyes in general. That's, yellow dyes, blue dyes, red dyes, all of it. And I recommend you guys also look into what dyes actually do to your body. They're pretty nasty. I mean, all dyes, yellow dyes, red dyes, blue dyes, they are made from oil. They're made from petrol byproducts, okay? Yeah, I don't like the idea of ingesting that, and especially for the kids. President-elect Donald Trump's nominee to head the U.S. Transportation Department said today EVs should pay to use roads. Most revenue for federally funded road repairs is collected through taxes on diesel and gasoline, which EVs do not pay. Quote, they should pay for the use of our roads. How to do that, I think, is a little more challenging, said Sean Duffy. Goldman Sachs just reported earnings today, one of the big beaters of the banks. Revenue came in at $13.87 billion versus $12.37 billion as was expected. That was a big beat. And EPS came in at $11.95 versus estimates of $8.17. That is a massive beat. Same is true with JP Morgan, with Citi, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. They all beat expectations. And that is also helping to calm some nervous fears that people have ahead of this earnings season. Now, tomorrow morning, we will get earnings from TSMC. That will be important for NVIDIA because TSMC does most of, if not all of, NVIDIA's contract manufacturing. So if TSMC has good earnings, that's a good sign for NVIDIA and the rest of your AI stocks. But we will talk about that a little bit more in the next video. Now, option activity today for Tesla stock is coming in at 61% positive order value. That's a pretty good number, not a great number, but a pretty good number. You have 59 different trades totaling $49.5 million. So definitely on the lower side today, which is interesting considering Tesla's up $22 per share, up 5.71% today. What's also fascinating is what we talked about in yesterday's video. Tesla was pricing in about a 5% move by Friday. So the options look like they paid out based on today's move, especially if Tesla continues higher throughout the rest of this week. You could see a larger gamma ramp into this Friday. Now, if we take a look at the short position in Tesla, it has recently fallen from 2.88% short interest of free float down to 2.1% short interest of free float. The amount of shares sold short also fell from 80 million down to 67 million. And today you have 170,000 shares that are being covered on net. So you have borrowed shares of 163,000 and return shares of 333,000. Subtract the return from the borrowed and you have a net 170,000 shares being covered today. Over on StockTwits, sentiment for Tesla is extremely bullish at 75. Yesterday, it was extremely bullish at 77. Message volume today is high at 58. Yesterday was normal at 47. And participation ratio today is high at 56. So it looks good today for Tesla stock. We'll talk about all of this a little bit more in depth in the next video. We do have more important economic data coming out tomorrow. We will discuss TSMC earnings and a potential gamma ramp that Tesla could see into Friday as long as things continue to go well throughout the rest of this week, because there's a fair bit of option activity that I think will be coming over the next 2 days. So let me know what you guys think about this information down below in the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.